All right, brother. Sam, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
I think we've known each other literally 3 months or something.
Something like
Something
that.
like that. We had lunch in BSC and then here we are. But the bum, right? So, just by way of reference,
Sure.
we came into each other's orbits at the time because he wrote me an email after having listened to me speak to Azuddin on the Malay psyche in exactly the same chair. Azif sat in that chair as well. And you wrote me a very long and detailed email about why you felt so passionate about the conversation I had with Azif. And I said to myself, well, this guy is pretty unusual. This guy is he seems like a corporate guy. He seems to be very passionate about Malaysia. He seems to have more than a few opinions about what seems to be happening in Malaysia. And then I think we had lunch, and then I think we agreed for you to come and chat. And just by way of background, you're a corporate guy. You're actually from my part of the world, which is Penang. We're both Penang people, northern people, right?
Balik Pulau. Born in Balik Pulau.
So you're legitimate Penang, right? Because
But
you're
raised
island.
in Sungai Petani.
So you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I know you from your LinkedIn as the former chief executive of Perdana Petroleum. So
I was the managing director for Perdana Petroleum.
Former MD.
Yeah.
So you're an oil and gas guy, you're a corporate guy, you're a northern region guy, and you're obviously someone who's very passionate about Malaysia. And so I pass the baton back to you to tell me more about who you are and why we're chatting about here.
Okay. Just a bit of a background. I didn't quite start out in oil and gas, actually. My background, I'm a chemical engineer. And I started out actually in the water industry. Okay. And then I went to Shell. That's like 8 years I was in Shell. In Miri, Sarawak. So my daughter was born in Sarawak.
Oh, good.
So I call myself half Sarawakian as well. I love that place.
Yeah.
After Shell, actually, I came out basically to start looking at opportunities to be a businessman, actually, right? But I started looking for a joint venture for the core group, and then I went back into oil and gas. 15 years with at that particular time was called Perdana. That morphed into Perdana Petroleum, which we spun off to another PLC as well, which is what you see today called Petra Energy, right? We sold the company in 2015. I'm still on a couple of boards and have some business of my own as well. So that's a bit of my background. So that quite informs where I'm coming from, you know. When I saw your discussion with Azif, right, and talking about the Malay psyche and whatnot, and I was, it's a point of discussion as far as I'm concerned, with respect of how actually we should approach. How do we build up the mindset of our people, not specifically Malay, but also Malaysian in general, you know? So that was why I wrote you what I wrote. Yeah.
And so, I think well, we've been on holiday last month, and I think you told me earlier over breakfast that as you were flying back from your holiday, you were thinking about the Malaysia situation, right? And I think you mentioned to me that you saw the Malaysia situation as one of a restructuring situation. Obviously, you've been through a couple of corporate restructurings yourself. You've done IPOs and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
And you see that Malaysia needs work, right? Maybe you can talk about that.
Okay. When we look at Malaysia as we see today, it's a lot different than it was when I was growing up in the 70s. Yeah. We're just not talking about just also the social, but also the development of the country as a whole. We can't escape the fact that Malays form the majority of the country. So what happens to the Malays as a group also is going to impact how the country is going to develop and grow and whatnot. And one of the things that I find is we as a nation need to be able to move away from the dependency of of or the idea that Malays need to have a crutch from the government all the time. I think there is a need for our Malay psyche to actually go beyond thinking that Malay is the be all and on all of who we are, and that is something that we desperately need as a society, actually.
So you said two things. You said that the crutch need not exist because obviously, I mean, when I look at you, we've spent a couple of times offline together, and it seems to me that you don't yourself come from a wealthy background. I think both your parents,
my parents
were
school
teachers, right?
Yeah.
Balik Pulau, and I think you ran a sundry shop or something,
Yeah,
right?
my paternal grandfather ran a sundry shop in Aitam. Yeah.
And yet you've done well, and you are proof positive that you don't need assistance per se. You just need a good education and a lot of hard work to prosper, especially, right? To be successful.
I think when you talk about success or in terms of your well-being, right? Obviously, you hit it on the nail. I believe in education, and the right education. More importantly, the right education at a very fundamental level. So we're talking about from the very beginning when you are young, how you grow up, your formal education, right? And then going to tertiary or any further than that. That will determine how your future is going to be, because you're building a character. You're building a character that is supposed to be able to compete. And in order for you to compete, you must have the resilience and the knowledge that allows you to compete in the real world. And what I find when we were growing up, right? When we were growing up, I remember, I don't even recall anyone not wanting to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, an educator, a teacher. At the very least, you want to be a teacher, okay? Which means that you're really looking at substantive subjects. You're looking at science. You're looking at mathematics, right? So that must be the focus for our children. And that must be the focus moving forward as well. Now, not everybody needs to go to university. Let me put it that way. There is no need for everybody to go to university. I think one of the biggest mistakes we've done is actually to sort of like give this idea that that going to university means you are successful. No, you're not. Going to university is just another step if that allows you to actually hone more knowledge and skill. But it's not that's not a necessity, right? So I think I remember when we had it right. If you ask me, we had it right in the 70s, where actually we had a lot of technical schools. We had ITM. In fact, I'll tell you, if I didn't get a scholarship to go overseas to do engineering, I would have gone to ITM. I wouldn't want to go to university. That was not what I told my dad. I told my dad I'm going to ITM. Why? Because even at that teenage years, I realized that that's the place I'm going to learn my skill most when I go out to work. I probably do for 2 years of working and then I'll go to university if I need to. But I wasn't inclined to go to university. I went to university because I was offered a scholarship to go overseas.
Where was the scholarship from?
I got a scholarship from JPA, the Jabatan Perkhidmatan Awam, right? The Public Services Department. Okay? I think, honestly, I wanted to take law. But they
You would
told
have been a good lawyer.
I thought I would be. I thought I would be. But then they told me that actually to go to law school I have to go to UK. But I was hell bent to go to the States because my mindset at that particular time, because I wanted to go to a place where actually I felt that it's a new world. It's a bit more dynamic. Whereas I saw UK as being old
Ossified.
world.
Yeah.
You know, old world.
Antiquated, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a teenager, so how much do I know? But I don't think I think it opened up my world because and that's what I wanted to do, which is basically to open up my world, right? So I think this is and I've never when I came back, I wanted to work where I'm learning, right? So that's the other part, which is you are continuously learning. And that's how you build your character and you build your knowledge base and your skill set, right? Every work that you do actually is to learn. It's not to make money first. That mindset does not exist for me, right? So when you learn, you are always adding value to yourself. People were earning more than me when I started out. My first salary was 800 ringgit.
You know the conversation I had with Asif, right?
Yeah.
What touched you the most about it?
What touched me the most about it is the feedback that he got of how being Malays and having the religion as being so central in the Malay society's life. I think that's so limiting. It's just so limiting. Pride. What is pride? That's the thing that bothered me a bit, right? Okay, I'm not saying that we shouldn't identify with our heritage. That's fine, but that's really not going to get you anywhere. I think very highly of my dad. He was a school teacher. He was an English teacher, right? And he does a lot of things when I was growing up that was different that I saw how he thinks. And I think probably I learned from osmosis. And one of the things I saw was that he never talked about the past. I probably remember once or twice. That's the max, I think, that he talked about the past. He's always talking about the future.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And that's the way I've lived my life. And I think that's the way a lot that I think we should inculcate in our community, which is actually to think about where do we want to go from here, whatever my dad achieved, it's not my achievement. What am I going to be proud about? He's my father, yeah, sure, right? Even if he had a lot of money, that's not my money. Even if he has a lot of status, that's not mine. That's his achievement. What am I proud about? What we should be looking at is actually to build our own pride, which is actually our own achievement.
If you suddenly had a chance to speak to all the category of, let's say, 16 to 21-year-old Malay youths in this country, Sam,
Yeah.
what would you tell them?
I would tell them that you can do it. You can do it. That you can compete without the government's help. Sure, anybody's help is good, right? We're not saying that people don't network, right? But if you think about it, you must first come with the attitude that actually nobody's going to help you. I went for when I was when I went to the States, actually, I thought I had a place in the university. I didn't have. It was a shock to the system.
But here's the spanner in the works, right, Sam? You said the US was instrumental in your mindset, right? It changed you, right? Right? It did change you.
It does.
But if you
because
did
you
not,
grew up in that.
but if you did not get the government assistance, JPA scholarship, you would not have gone to the US,
well, here goes.
right?
Yeah.
And you would have gone to ITM.
Yeah.
And it would be a very different Sam in front of me today. No?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
So
I'm
here's
not
the thing. So
denying it.
government assistance does help.
Well, here it goes, right? Here it goes. Let me go back to my story just now. Okay, so that I complete what I was trying to say. Okay, having got the scholarship is one thing. Okay, but you have to get that scholarship first, especially during the 70s and the late 70s or during the 70s. Okay, when I was in Form 1. 11 years old. I skipped a class, so I was like 11 years old.
Smart fella lah.
Not really lah, not really lah. So I was in a semi-boarding school at College Sultan Abdul Hamid in Alostar, right? I've already noticed a few things, even at that age. I noticed, one, I need to get out of that school by the time I'm fourth form, because I felt that the facilities were not good enough, and they were changing the curriculum from English to Bahasa. I was the first year where everything was in Bahasa. Okay, so the teachers were struggling. The second part was I was a really poor mathematics student, extremely bad. Okay. So, what do I have to do? I had to put extra effort. In fact, I put so much effort that practically every hour of the day, I had a calendar on. So it was really a self-discipline type of thing, right? And turn around my education career. So I was one of the top students there. And I got transferred to Sultan Abdul Halim, which was quite an elite school, fully boarding school. Now, here's the thing, the lesson that I learned from that, actually, when I look at it in perspective. Why can't every school be like that? Right? I think the more important question is, why can't every kid be like that? As in, realize, self-awareness, right, that if I don't pull my socks up and put in the work, I don't get by. Why aren't more kids like that? That is a tough...
Have you analysed that? Was it because of the inputs of your dad, or were you born with that? Because I not just Malay kids or Chinese kids or Indian kids, right? I just see kids generally nowadays.
Yeah.
Some are really driven, and some are just like very like complacent, like, you know. And in this day and age, right, whether you're Chinese or Malay or Indian, if you don't sort it out, if you don't pull your finger out, the machines are going to get you, you know. Do you know what I mean, right?
I know.
So it's a different threat, but it's a threat nonetheless.
Well, let me put it this way. Not everybody is going to have the same character. Okay? In terms of individualism, each individual is, especially at that young age, you're molded by your environment. And your environment means your family, your parents, how you grew up. I grew up with books. I grew up with probably looking at how my grandfather were working hard, trying to make a living. I used to work at his shop. 5 a.m. you take out all your stuff up to the front of the sundry shop. 11 p.m. you bring it back to the back, you know.
That's a proper working day, man.
It's a proper working day, right? So you got that in your mind. You got my grandpa never said he loved us, you know. His first question is actually, have you eaten? The next question is, go to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that probably informs how the character is developed. And when you look at, to me, when you look at your dad doing, working at his job, trying to be the best at what he does, you can't help be swept with that, actually. The other thing I think I credit is what I was reading. My dad exposed me to a lot of reading. Okay, he started out with comics and all that, and this is the other part about what you asked, that question that you asked, is that kids need to read. And what do they need to read? Here is where I think we fail. I really never attended any English classes, if you ask me personally. I don't like English classes. Because I learn nothing. I'm not interested. I've read them all. So if you've read them all and you've been reading it non-stop, you don't need classes. You know your grammar. If it doesn't sound right, it's not right. That's how you learn language.
Well, I guess language is communicating, isn't it?
Correct.
Right? It's about, moving your ideas from your mind to the next guy's
Correct.
mind with as absolute clarity.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, well, then you failed in your job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't understand when I look at today's curriculum, why we have so many hours of classes in English. Why do we have so many hours in classes in Bahasa? It's a waste of time. Get them to read. That's all I did, was read.
Why do you think the education system is so difficult to restructure in this country?
Political will. And there are too many vested interests in anything, not just Malaysia. Also, if you look at America, which is, probably we can say the strongest economy in the world for at least, the last 100 years, right? It's all vested interest in politics that actually translates into how do we make money out of it. Okay, at the end of the day, everything boils down to money and power. Power is money, and money is power, right? So going back to that point, actually, what I want to make a point is that when you read, what do you read is another thing. The thing is, unfortunately for Malaysia, you must remember our society. How old is our civilization in terms of our written knowledge of science, technology, even literature? Not long.
But the people here in Malaysia have been here for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah, but where's
There's been a civilization here for at least 1,000 years.
Where is our knowledge, if that's the case? Where is our Darwin? Where is our Newton? We've got none. All right. Whereas if you go to Germany, you go to Russia, okay, they have catalogs of it going down 300, 400 years.
Well, you might say that history was relegated to the back shelf because it was not convenient to the powers that be.
No.
Right? I mean, sometimes, when I speak to someone like, say, a historian like Khoo, right?
Right.
And there is a lot of history in this country. It's a very rich tapestry of civilizations in Malaysia. But unfortunately, it's not been catalogued.
Now, let's put it this way, okay? For whatever reason, it's not being catalogued or not is irrelevant. What's relevant is what do we have in our catalogue, okay? So that goes back to that particular point I was making when we touched base initially, right? The point is we don't have it. When we don't have it, we have to get the catalogue elsewhere. If you have a mass of knowledge in science and technology already in your pool of knowledge, indigenous, that's fine. You can learn it in your language. You can learn it in Russia. You can learn it in Japanese. You can learn it in German. Okay? And then you want the latest language, then you start learning English. But when the pool of knowledge that you need to grow up even and to see the world, your only access then becomes English. And when we relegate English to not even secondary now, to tertiary, what happens is our children doesn't have access to the world. They don't have access to what is happening in the world. They don't have access to what has happened in terms of historical knowledge. They don't have access to the critical thinking that comes with development of science and technology. Okay? It goes further than that, It's not superficial. It's critical thinking that is embedded in the language. You need that when you are growing up. So when you grow up already, why did I like law? Because I was reading Enid Blyton's famous Five, Alfred Hitchcock's Three Detectives,
Secret Seven.
Secret Seven. I was reading Perry Mason. Those are all critical thinking books. Not just it exposes me to thinking, it exposes me to different cultures and way of thinking. How people look at things. I knew about America way before I landed in LA. I haven't even gone to Singapore, and all of a sudden at 16, 17, I was in Los Angeles, and it was not a culture shock for me. Yeah, you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you are preparing the child for the world. You're not preparing the child to compete in balik pulau.
Sam, you could say also that there's a segment of society that thinks the education system is the way it is because it's meant to be that way to keep the people stupid. Do you agree?
I think that's a bit
far-fetched? Or
no, it's not that
reality?
far-fetched. It's really it's a bit conspiratorial.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't quite subscribe to that. The reason I don't subscribe to that is because there is something called converging interests, right? Why do we have people at World Economic Forum? Converging interests. They don't have to plan among themselves and have we're gonna do 1, 2, 3 to keep people poor and make ourselves rich. No. It's all about converging interests. If I want to make money, you want to make money. If I want to keep my job, 100 people in the same room want to keep their jobs, and that's the best way for them to keep the job. That's what they're going to do. Yeah? Show me an incentive, and I'll show you the results.
Do you know what you said about political will, right, Sam?
Yeah.
To me, it's such a powerful narrative. It's to tell a body of people that you can bloody do it, You can do it with the sweat of the back of your energy, of your industry, and you can do it with your own brain. And when you galvanize a country based on what they believe they can do intrinsically, that is such a powerful political narrative, right? On the other side, you've got this narrative which says, we are the governments, we're going to look after you, you don't have to worry. That seems to me to be hollow. That's a hollow narrative. Do you know what I mean? But that's been a narrative that has been in existence for the last 40 years. And provably, empirically, from a data perspective, it's not worked. And yet we continue to adhere to the system, which has not worked and which is actually holding Malaysia back. But for me, if I'm a political leader, which I'm not, right?
Yeah. Neither am I.
if I'm a young if I'm a young person of substance that thinks he or she wants to change the world in politics, to me this is such a powerful narrative, right? Right? It's like a John F. Kennedy narrative back in the late 60s when he went on television for the first time, young, good-looking, Harvard, whatever, right? He says, ask not for what your country can do for you. Ask yourself what you can do for your country. That was such a powerful political narrative, right? And why doesn't anybody of substance in this country from a political leadership perspective do that? To me, it's not because they're not smart enough. It's because they don't have the balls to do it. Because they don't want to shake up the system to remove the drugs and the cocaine from the drug addicts. That's the real problem.
I think partly you are the product of your system. And when you enter the system, you become part and parcel of it. And I've seen, I mean, look, when I told you we went to, when I went to the States, I had to apply to university. So I was not the only one who had to apply. That means all the other kids that went there had to apply to an American university, take American tests, okay, not just the English test, but also their standardized testing, okay, and then get accepted to different tier universities depending on your capability. That's what happened to us actually, all right, which means that we were competing without any quota. In fact, the quota was mostly reversed, especially where I went, which is a premier public university. There was a quota of not more than 1,000 out of 35,000 students at any one time can be foreign. So you've got a reverse situation going on, right? And we got in. I got in. So if we could do that,
in Malaysia, you've got the opposite of that, right? You've got this like fat quota.
So we have to
which
ask
has to
ourselves.
be filled one way or another. It's DEI, but exactly that Malaysia has had DEI for the last 40 years.
well, that's exactly the argument against it, ain't it?
Exactly.
Right? So it's already proven that actually Malay society can compete. You know? It's the what you need to provide is actually provide the tools for them to be able to compete. And the tools has to come in early. The tools is education. And and that is where the first thing that we have to look at, to make sure that they have the right education, to make sure they have access to knowledge. The problem with access to knowledge is actually they get very rebellious.
Well, that's a good thing, right? Because because you need contrarians, you need
Correct.
thinkers that think independently. But that's the thing, right? With education, every kid now in Malaysia has a phone. Every kid now has a data package. Most, I'd say, okay, I'm out on a limb here, right? But I would say that almost everybody has a data package and a smartphone. The whole world of information on the internet is available to that kid. So it's not because they don't have that information; it's because they don't have the yearning to have that education in their minds.
So the question
They're doing Snapchat, they're doing Instagram, they're swiping videos of people with Lamborghinis, and it's all bullshit, right? If they wanted to, they can learn about Chaucer, Shakespeare, Tolstoy, whatever. It's all there. Confucius, whatever you want to, the Mahabharata, etc., etc. Right? It's all there. It's free. It's free. What you are saying is that in education is important, and the right education materials has to be put in front of the child. I'm saying now you don't have to do that because it's already in their hands with their smartphones. The problem is the kids themselves don't want to go to that side of the internet. They want to go to the trivial side of the internet, which is the Snapchat and the short videos and all that nonsense, right? That aspirational lifestyle of a Lamborghini. They want it good, but they want it to come easy. It doesn't happen that way. They've got to put in the hard work. Do you know what I mean? So that's the problem. They have the internet in their hands. They just don't use the internet for the right reasons.
That comes to culture, if you ask me. When I say culture, what I mean by culture is not simply the society's culture, but basically your family culture, right? If your family culture is aspirational about hard work, if your aspirational culture is about obtaining knowledge, that will further yourself, that's what you're going to levitate towards when you're young. Because by the time you get to be a teenager, you're pretty sad. Your character is almost pretty sad, and the 16, 17 years is the mold that you must already prepare them for. So if we build a culture where in school we say science is important, reading in English is important, because you want them to have a wide spectrum of knowledge and understanding of the world. You need them to be able to converse and have access to knowledge in English. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, So, and then you have to have that you have to build into them that curiosity of asking questions, of asking tough questions, right? So, to ask those questions require them to be critical thinking. The problem with our fundamental education, especially if you are so religiously bent in your culture, you don't ask questions.
Yes, so that's the other thing about Malaysia, right? Or Asians in general. First of all, our faiths, not just one faith, but or most faiths, right, require us to be subservient to the principles within that faith, to not question, correct or not?
Yeah.
It's an absolutist approach, right?
Yeah.
The second thing is, as Asians ourselves, we tend to be muted in front of our adults, our superiors, our elders. You know, there's a culture of subservience within that. That's why you've got this thing called the power distance index. In the Scandinavian countries, it's the lowest. In Asian countries like Malaysia, it's the highest. We are very we are subservient to hierarchies, and especially in Malaysia, right? And then you compound that by the titular system in Malaysia. You've got your BGK, BMN from Penang, right? Then you've got your Dato', then Dato' Sri, then you've got the Tan Sri. So it's like you're separating society by their statuses, shall we say, right? And then you compound that further by the British system, your titulars, right? Your sir, your dames, and this and that. Yep. And then you've got a people in Asia who are so subservient to hierarchies that in the end they just become like blithering idiots in front of power, right? That's why in Malaysia you've got these people who drive on the highways, and this cavalcade of VIPs drive past with their bodyguards and the police outriders, and they just shunt you to the side. And Malaysians, they just we just have to go to the side because the VIPs are coming through. We don't have that culture of questioning. Why is this happening? Is this correct? Is this fair? Is this appropriate? We are paying their salaries, these civil servants. Where are we being shunted to the side? We don't have that culture of, as you say, critical thinking or independent thinking, or even questioning why things are the way they are. We don't have that.
Yeah, we need to have that culture of questioning.
Why is this happening?
Yeah.
Is this correct? Why are we paying lip service to this Tan Sri or this Puan Sri or this Tun or this politician or this minister?
I think
we angkat them like hell. Why? I don't understand.
No, it's within because we are as a society is a caste system.
But you saw how America is, right? I mean, the First Amendment, right? The freedom of speech, the freedom of autonomy. Freedom is all important. That's why they got gun laws to protect yourself and your family, right? Well, it's all important. And you saw how powerful that is. It translates to the economy. It translates to wealth and power and status
you
and
have to think about it.
independence.
Think about this very weird fact, right? In any society, for that matter, the leadership, the people who was going to lead the growth of the economy, was probably less than 20%.
Yeah.
Right? The rest are actually workers. Okay? So it's the molding of that leadership. All right? Their system is such that it allows the leadership to pull the rest of the society and actually inculcate all this into that society. When you look at what we were talking about in terms of political will, right? It's also how the system is established, how we institutionalize, just like running a company.
Absolutely.
If you have a lousy culture in a company, that means your institutions within that company is not working.
Exactly.
Right? In fact, a lot of times it's actually counterproductive. It's actually bringing the whole company down. So when you look at this in their culture, in American culture, the freedom of speech is absolutist. They say that I will protect your right to say whatever you want to say. Okay? There's no such thing as a hate speech law. And I agree with that. Because why? Who is going to determine hate speech? You? Me? The government?
It's very subjective.
It's very subjective. I don't know. Right? I'm not going to be able to say that
It's how I interpret what you call me, right?
Yeah.
But if we're buddies, you call me all kinds of names, it's okay, what?
I don't
We're
care.
buddies, what, right?
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you say the same thing to the next guy, they'll be like, they'll sue you for defamation.
Let me
Do
tell
know what I
you
mean, right?
something. That this thought was just now, and I want to get this thought out. Actually, one very distinct difference between us and the American, and especially even compared to the European culture, is in America, the saying that the government is the problem, not the solution, is really true.
Absolutely, I agree.
They complete. I would say the majority of the people believe in that. The system is built in such a way where it really enforces the need to have a weak government. They don't want a big government
Yep.
because the government is the problem.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. And in Malaysia, the number of politicians we have, or civil servants, in relation to the population, is one of the highest in the world.
Yeah, we have to restructure the country.
Yeah.
And it takes a really bold leadership to actually say what we have today. You know, we are
It's
just
a bloody dumpster fire.
It's a dumpster fire.
Okay, let's just bloody say it, right? So, and what is a dumpster fire? It's when you got a shitstorm and it's a double shitstorm, right?
Yeah.
Let's just go there, okay? Okay.
I mean, you can't pussyfoot around it.
You cannot
know?
do that.
You can't. I mean, you look at what is happening right now, whether you like him or you hate him or whatever.
He's done it.
Trump is doing it.
Donald Trump, right?
Right.
6 months ago, the US was in a dumpster fire, right? And look at what's happened,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, take a very simple issue, okay? The illegal immigration problem that they have.
Done.
Okay.
Done. Right? You got planes flying them to Guantanamo, right? What
Yeah.
the right? It's done. It's done, right?
I mean, it's when you deal with and that's where coming from the background I come in, which is I started out as well. I mean, as a small businessman, right? Then partnership into Perdana, 15 years, build it up, but a businessman way of thinking, is exactly what the country needs.
Yeah.
Which is actually result.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if the bloody shop is not making money, you shut the bloody thing down.
Bloody shut
Simple,
it down.
right.
Habis.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is this. The thing about when you talk about education, right? See, everything is so intertwined. You cannot say I'm going to sort out one problem and in isolation. There is no silo in the business. Everything has connectivity,
Yeah.
Your money
It's
as a
cancer.
taxpayer,
It's a cancer.
Well,
if you don't kill the cancer, it spreads, right?
your money as a taxpayer is being used, okay, for education. Is it being used right?
We think we know the answer to that question.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. If it's not being used right, why are you taxing me? Right? So therefore, so when I see in business papers people debate about the budget and all that, I actually go a bit haywire when
That's
people
not the-
talk about tax and whether we should have GST, whether we should have SST, whether it should be we should. Hey, come on, stop first, right? Stop first. What are we using this money for?
Exactly.
Okay.
You got nearly over $1 billion on now, I think, going to the thought police, right? Coming to check on whether you're doing this or that. It's a hello. I mean,
Why?
Right. Why?
Why?
Is that the best allocation of capital?
Yeah.
I don't think so. right?
Exactly. And here's talking about that, right? I mean, if we want to have, I'm going to go back for a short while, okay? Because I think we didn't finish that particular conversation, all right? I had, when I was in Form 4, Form 5 in Sultan Abdul Halim in Jitra, it's just a fully boarding school, okay? I'll tell you something. Until today, I know my chemistry teacher's name, my physics teacher's name, my biology teacher's name, my math teacher's name. You know why? Because they were all bloody good. All right? They were top-notch. Okay? Our labs were top-notch. If I see that money spent on top-notch facilities and teachers, I say tax me. Okay? If you can provide that to every single student, irrespective of race or religion or whatever, let them compete because they can. I'm living proof of that. I went and I did chemical engineering. I couldn't even pass my math in Form 1.
Right? The needle was moved.
Yeah. So what do I have to do? I had to work hard. And what did the government do? The government provided me the tools at a very young age for me to succeed. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Right?
The
I go and
hardware.
apply.
Yeah.
I go and apply overseas. I don't have a quota. I come back home. My first job, practically a Chinese company. I know I went in there. Hey, they wanted to give me 600. It was a recession in 1986. Okay,
Black Monday,
it was horrible, right? So they wanted to give me 600 ringgit. I said no. You want me 800? I thought it was
That's
big.
pretty good. That's balls,
right?
right?
I know. It's very simple. It's because I know my value, right? And I know the market can take that. Okay? When I went to interview for Shell, right? Tu Mat Saleh interview me. All right? Tu Mat Saleh interview. Halfway through the interview, I asked them, we are professionals here. I don't want to waste your time, and I don't think you want to waste mine either.
How old were you then?
I was probably about 24, 25.
And the Masala is like, where did this fella come from?
I know. No, but in my head, I had a good job.
Yeah.
I was about 2 years into the job.
Yeah.
Right? My boss gave me a raise already. I was learning so much. I was selling chemicals. And when the department head was asking me about, this chemical, that chemical, I was just like, spouting it off like nobody's business. I know I was good. Right? So the question is very simple. You want to stand out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, right?
Absolutely.
You want to stand out.
Yeah.
So stand out. But you have to have the substance to stand out,
That's right.
So once you have the substance, go ahead and ask him. And they laughed. I said, sure. You got the job.
What young Malay boy is going to say, hey, we're all professionals here, let's talk business?
Yeah.
That must have been like, it must have blown their mind.
It blew their mind.
Right? Just give it to him. Please, let him stay on here.
Yeah.
And this is Shell.
You do it politely.
This is Shell.
You do it politely.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
You do it politely. You do it. You don't have to be arrogant about it.
Correct.
Right? Because so it carried me all the way. When we started out in marine offshore in Perdana Petroleum, at that time it was called Petra Perdana, right? We were the first one to buy the bigger ships, the bigger anchor handlers than everybody else. People thought we were mad, but we looked at the market. I look at all the data and I look at where the market was going, and I say, hey, I can't go beyond Malaysia with this set of ships.
Roll the bloody dice.
Yeah. Yeah. Pick up the right technical specs that we want for that particular market. Go for it. So you have to do things different than what other people are doing.
So Malaysia, is it a dumpster fire? It is, right? I mean, let's call a spade, right? And there's a lot of departments to shut down. So in America now, you've got this bunch of guys, Vivek Ramaswamy, you've got Elon Musk. They're running this department called government efficiency, right? They think they can cut $2 trillion from the spending, right? I think in Malaysia you can do the same thing. It's a restructuring job. right? And I love the fact that America has shown the world the way that actually the status quo need not continue. You can be a shit show, but in 2 months or 1 month, you can actually right the ship and set it back on the right course. I think they've done that. I absolutely agree.
I mean, you know that Trump is not the first one to do it. You look at Argentina.
Yeah, exactly. That guy Emilio, right?
Emilio.
Yeah.
You look at Argentina.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
He's turned the boat around. And that boat was the Titanic, man.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, actually, you may not like how he talks.
Yeah. Doesn't
right?
matter.
Trump, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
What matters is
the results.
The results. You know, I mean, and the thing is, the status quo does not want you to change. Anywhere in the world,
because
the status quo doesn't want. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Mediocrity is comfort. But if you want to be better, you have to be uncomfortable. And that's the only thing. Yeah, now that I've said it out, right? That's basically what my life has been. Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are always trying to see
how better you can be.
How better, yeah.
You can improve, right?
Yeah.
Because effort is painful, right?
Exactly.
It's difficult to wake up at 5 a.m. like what David Goggins, the super athlete, does, right? You wake up in the morning, you train. When it's raining, when it's cold, you run. You got to put in the hard yards because you can't get the results.
I think one of the things that people forget what is happening in the world, especially today. We're looking at the last. When I look at the last decade, probably especially it has heightened up within the last 8 years, right? The world has completely changed with respect to corporate establishment. World corporate establishment. I'm a capitalist.
Yeah.
Let me be very frank with that.
Let's just put into the collective. We are capitalists.
We are capitalists
in this room.
Right. Okay. I believe that capitalism has been the most successful system civilization has ever invented. Okay. The question is this: when you look at what's happening and when you need to change things, you need disruptors. Trump is a disruptor. When he ran for election, because he's never held any public office, he's always been a developer. And when he ran for office in 2016, if I recall, I remember the press on both sides, all of a sudden he became a pariah. You know? I remember in the 80s, when I was in college, actually, he was such a celebrity. Everybody loved him. Clinton loved him.
He was on the talk shows. He was doing the whole circuit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the day he ran for the Republican nomination, who was the Republican Party's favorite candidate? It was not Trump. It was Jeb Bush.
Son of George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, the establishment doesn't want him. It's not just the Democrat. The establishment doesn't want him. Yeah. The corporate media does not want him.
They couldn't control him.
They cannot control him.
Unpredictable.
Correct.
Yeah.
They cannot control him. Right? And for the status quo, controlling is important.
Yeah.
Right?
Entrenched interest, right?
Yeah, it's exactly it. It's not like they need to be conspiratorial. It's just entrenched interest, right? So all of a sudden, you've got the military-industrial complex that does not want to have somebody who's going to stop wars.
Exactly, right?
Yeah?
Right.
The
gravy train stops.
The gravy train stops, exactly, right? You've got, so it's just like over here, right? If you stop the way the education system is done today, the book publishing business gets killed. All right? You've got to revamp the whole curriculum. You're talking about teachers who are teaching things that are not useful in the commercial world.
All the cushy positions that have been awarded to political friends and family Bush, gone.
That's at the upper echelon.
Yeah.
You must understand when the alternative media talks about the deep state, okay? When they talk about the deep state, it's not about people whispering in the corridors and in small room. No, it's just entrenched interest. In the old days, how did Kennedy got elected? One of the ways that Kennedy got elected was actually the mob controlling the trade unions that handle the ballots.
Well, I'm smiling because now you've got this guy, Trump, coming. He signed an executive order to declassify those files.
Yeah, that's good. Fun, isn't it? Right? So it's all, I mean, the trade unions today in America has lost that power. Okay? So it's a different shape, and that's where it goes back to that what I said, the world order is different, right? You're talking now, basically you're talking about corporate wealth, corporate power. And corporate power is a very strange thing today. The media talks about Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos being in the inauguration. They're not the most powerful people in the world. They're not. They are minuscule compared to BlackRock.
Yeah.
Okay? What people don't understand is the WEF, okay, is basically bankrolled by entities like these huge private equities. We're looking at BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. All this private equity has assets worth. Probably the only two countries that has smaller asset value, GDP, my friend, okay, is China and America. They're bigger than everybody else.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So if you think, you should look around and say, hey, why are the mainstream media not talking about Larry Fink?
Yeah.
Because he's controlling the mainstream.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Absolutely.
So the comfort level, and the entry of a disruptor, of somebody who's gonna restructure the whole system, is very threatening. And that's why we have all this mainstream going. I remember when Malay was running for the presidency in Argentina. He was vilified. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 1 year later, look what he has done for Argentina.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, when Trump was going to come into office, I said to my friend, I said one of the biggest issue he's running on is bringing down inflation. It's so easy to bring down inflation. What is the biggest component of anything that you buy?
Depends on who you are.
Energy.
Though. Yeah.
Your freight cost. The minute you say I'm gonna drill, right? The oil price is gonna come down because the hedgers are gonna get scared already that the supply is gonna be more than the demand very soon. Okay, so give him about 3 or 6 months. Okay, by the time it just get baked into the economy, price of things is gonna come down. Now, if I'm gonna increase tariffs, right? What do I do next? I bring down your tax rate. You have more money in your pocket. Whilst I wait for industry to start building the manufacturing on my shore.
Well, the tariffs might be a scare tactic as well. We don't yet know, right?
And even then, it's also a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
When you have the power, that's what you do.
And now Canada's in front of them, they're talking. I
Yeah.
mean, sure, I get it. But you see, the thing is, America has now finally got the benefits of a Donald Trump, right? And I think America will have a golden period in front of them, 3-4 years, right? And it's fantastic for America, and I think secondarily the rest of the world. Countries like Malaysia, who are still laboring under this whole status quo, entrenched interest, patronage, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't see any sign of those individuals on the horizon. Not the young guys, because the young guys are part of the status quo. I never criticize by name, but there's so many young guys I see now in politics. They have a brain in their heads, but they don't want to shake up the system.
I think one of the
Too comfortable.
Yeah, the thing is, the thing with our system is such that it's very difficult to break into leadership.
Yeah,
Because
you
at
got to
the
go
end of
through
the
the
day-
ranks, right?
Yeah, you got to go through the ranks. We don't have a direct voting system, right? So somehow our only hope is actually our leaders need to wake up and surround themselves with people who actually are going to be bold enough, and they have to be bold enough to say that we need a shake-up. We really need a shake-up, you know? Nobody even dares to tell the Malays that you can compete. And this is how you do it.
If I'm a political person, that's the first thing I'm going to say. And when you touch people in their hearts and you can tell them you can do it, it's so powerful, you know.
Exactly. I mean, this is leadership is about.
And I'm going to give you the tools to do it. Do you know how powerful that is, right?
Yeah.
Just like how when you did it, you had the best chemistry teacher, the best lab, not even the best lab, just say it's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be bells and whistles. No need.
No
right?
need.
No need.
You want to make sure that you have all the basic tools for you to
Correct.
succeed.
Cukup,
That's all.
cukup.
Yeah.
And then you're given the spirit of motivation and the support of people around you, and your government says, hey, if you put in the hard yards, you can make it, and you can say it's your own industry, your own energy, your own success.
Yeah.
It didn't come because of the government or your parents or your inheritance, no. Or the policy or this entitlement, no.
It's once we stop looking backwards, right, and just focus ourselves on what is the future we want, you know, from an individual standpoint. But for the country, it has to come from a policy standpoint, right? Because not everybody, the leader need to provide that leadership. Leadership means bringing people kicking and screaming towards the road you want them to take. It's not waiting for people to tell you this is how they want to go. No. Leadership means I'm going to show you a road you've never seen.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm going to show you this is where we are going. This is how we're going to get there. The problem that we face now is we're doing the same thing over and over again for 40 years. What, 40, 50, 60 years?
The definition of insanity.
The definition of insanity. And we expect things to change. It ain't going to change.
Not going to change.
It doesn't work that way. Right? So, universities. I mean, we have universities where professors writing things and giving lectures that makes no sense. And these are
PhDs as well. And they are PhDs.
So you have to
Can you
ask
imagine?
yourself, these are the product of our education system.
Yeah.
Right? So those are only the tip of the iceberg. So if you have one, that means there is at least 10 more of those.
Exactly.
Okay? If you see one, there is at least 10 more of those. If you have a whole university that one is able to sustain itself, he or himself, with that kind of competency or incompetency, shut down the whole bloody university.
Exactly.
Shut it down. We don't need that many universities.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know? And I can't understand this whole fascination about the gig economy. Okay? There is no career path in a gig economy. There is no skill to learn. You get on a motorbike, I don't want. All right? I wish we could all go out and still keep buying things at the mall. Because why?
But you can still do that, though, Sam. You can still go to Mid Valley, right? You can still do that.
No, but what I'm saying is very simple. What I'm saying is that when you build a whole economy where people are not, doesn't have growth in value, right? You are actually diminishing. And then what do we, our economic power? And then what do? We bring in, what do you call, cheap labor, supposedly cheap labor from foreign countries. Now, this for cheap labor is going to be a burden on our health system.
Yeah.
It's going to be a burden on our social system, right? That's tax dollars some more, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay?
I think what we're seeing now, especially with how people like Elon Musk are pushing the robot age very, very fast in front of us, right? I think we might be seeing Darwin's theory of evolution accelerated, because if we don't cope with the machines and the robots when they come, there's going to be a very, very high attrition rate of humans that can't cope with the speed of development, and they'll fall by the wayside. So to all these tasks that we see now, we take for granted, right, that we do, but with cheap human labor, it's all going to be automated. I mean, I think Amazon is the biggest employer in America, and half their workforce are robots.
Well,
I think Tesla factories are all robot automation. There's no human beings in assembling cars anymore, right? I think we don't put enough thinking behind the whole phenomenon that's happening right now.
Sometimes you go back to basics, right? You go back to basics to a certain point, okay? Because there are many tiers in the economy, in global economy, all right? Regardless how many robots you have, at least for the next, I would think 60, 70 years, you'll still need plumbers. You'll still need plumbers. You'll still need electricians.
I wish you were right, bro.
I believe so.
I hope you're right.
I believe so. Because why? You can automate a factory. Okay? You need people. And here's the thing that actually even, I don't want to talk too much about this. I'll just touch a bit my own thought. Okay? And I'm not an expert in this, so I don't dare to venture too much. I think the AI hype is overhyped. Okay? What I find is actually, I know some of my friends really love this ChatGPT stuff and all this type of thing. And I'm like, when I read the things that are, that they produce, it's really like you can see that why you still need humans. And I think sometimes when we try to project too far, I remember in the 80s, going to Epcot Center and you have flying cars. You don't see flying cars, right?
Did they have flying cars, eh? Really?
When was the first Blade Runner was put in? It was supposed to be 2020 or something like that, right? That was the vision of the future of.
There was even a program on Australian TV called 2020, right, or something. So Beyond 2000.
Beyond 2000, right? Okay. So I am not really, I am a technology. I love technology. I love innovation. There is a limit, or not necessarily a limit, but the change that we think, that we extrapolate, okay, usually are not what we're going to see. Yeah, usually are not going to see. Even simple issues like why have we not seen any aliens are actually easy to explain. Very easy to explain from a physics standpoint.
Why?
But it's not.
Why?
You want to ask me? I've done the calculation on you. I'm such a nerd. All right, I'm such a nerd. I've done the calculation. I'll give you the short answer to this. Right, I said, what is the nearest solar system outside of ours? You know, Alpha Centauri, right? And you calculate, it's gonna take you. Even if you get to about a few percent of the speed of light, it's going to take you thousands of years to get there.
Yeah, but time is a human construct, bro.
No.
The aliens have a different time.
And now we get into fiction. Okay, now we
No,
get
not
into
necessarily,
fiction.
right?
Now we get into fiction. So you've got the problem of gravity. You've got the problem of acceleration and the human body. If you think that physics work everywhere in the universe, okay, you can approximately say how an organism can exist. It'll probably be about like what we are anywhere else in the galaxy, because it's the same composition. So it's going to have the same challenges, you know. So you've got the problem of acceleration and gravity. That's another problem you gotta face. Okay, so there's a limitation. You're not going to see any alien. You might as well be alone.
But
That's the way I
they've already been
tell.
seen in the sky.
Huh?
They've already been spotted. Just check out YouTube. It's all there.
I know. If it's on YouTube, it
Yeah, it's
definitely
gotta
is
be.
there. If it's on YouTube, it's definitely there. Yeah. So I mean, but it's fascinating to watch. I've always felt that. I've always felt that we are so far. If you want to see how we can move forward as a country, right, or even as a society, America is a very interesting and good model to look at. Because why? They have a multiracial composition. Okay, whilst they are not quite parliamentary, which is they are a democracy like ours. They have state, they have federalism. Okay. The only difference is they have an executive. But to a certain extent, when I look at their society also, they have a strong religious base, which is what we have as well. Okay. But most of their people actually would rather be moderates. So, and then, if you look at from commerce, we are a commercial-driven society. So is theirs, right? So if we really understand how they got to where they are, you can see how we can get to where we want to be. That's one. Second part is actually this: we can see where they make mistakes. And by the time they realize they've made mistakes and they correct, their system is such they can self-correct. Okay, because why? You have only 8 years to be president. After that, you're out.
Yeah.
Right?
This is his last hurrah already.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Trump, yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's from the same party or not, but that next guy is going to be very different. Right? So that is an advantage they have. That's one. The second advantage their society have is actually they are an immigrant society.
Just like
They are an immigrant society.
Malaysia.
Just
right?
like Malaysia.
Yeah.
Right? But the difference is this. They take in immigrants. But what they want to do is they want to take the best out of you. So, even when their education system sucks, they'll get the best out of every other place who wants to come there to make money.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's a magnet now.
it's a
for the
magnet.
best and the brightest.
It has been that way for 200 years.
Yeah.
Okay? So those are the two things actually fundamentally make them different, in my opinion. Okay? But from if we see where they screw up and they reverse the attack, okay, what you're seeing in America now with Trump coming in, which is after 4 years of going back to establishment,
Insanity, actually.
and they are going
Yeah.
and basically people are saying, oh, we screwed up.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
We need this disruptor back.
Yeah.
Right? So, and whatever he's doing right now, is telling you already, hey, they did that. They realized they screwed up. This is what they need to fix things. Okay? So there's so many lessons we can take. I wish we took. The problem with us is our so-called elites and intelligentsia read mainstream diet of news, mainstream diet of ideas, when actually those are already, like you say, dumpster fires.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, when I talk to some of these coffee shop workers,
Right.
In Hatamas where I go, this is a Chinese coffee shop that I go. There's a couple, I think she's from Myanmar or from Nepal. I think Myanmar, right?
Right.
And people from her background in Myanmar, they want to come to Malaysia.
Right.
Because to them, Malaysia is like America.
Right.
Is where they can come and make their money, right? They can come and build a business, and they can come and start a family and then send money back to Myanmar,
Right.
And I've heard the same thing from Vietnamese. I've heard the same thing from Bangladeshis. I've heard the same thing from Nepalese as well. And in some sense, Malaysia's like a mini America. You can come and there's a dream. There's a Malaysian dream here.
Our only problem is this.
Right.
Our only problem is
Yeah.
this. It's happening at the liberal level.
Correct. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because back in 200 years ago with the Statue of Liberty and all these guys, we had that. I mean, America had that with New York City, right? So we are like the early part of America 200 years ago. To me, the biggest problem that Malaysia cannot deconstruct itself from is this entitlement subsidy system, which is so entrenched. That's the hardest part. Because it is this gravy train that has made life so comfortable that it's almost like a drug and it's an addiction, and they can't wean themselves off it. That to me is the most unsustainable thing about Malaysia. But it is so difficult to deconstruct. Do you know what I mean by that, Sam?
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, I know exactly.
And any political leader has got to have such huge goodwill on his or her side to deconstruct that. And I don't know whether Anwar is the right guy, honestly. Maybe if he's returned for a second term and he's got a bigger base, he has got the intelligence to do it. He has the personality, I think. I just don't know whether he's the right guy.
I think whoever is leading, this is the way I put it. Like the word you used was to have the balls.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Okay. Number two, to have the balls to correct course, really correct course. You see, to restructure the whole economy without the GLCs, right? Takes balls.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And take a bold vision and say, now if we take this out, which sector is gonna pick up the slack?
That's a very simple solution. It's the private sector.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Because every main GLC is monopolistic in nature.
Correct.
It's anti-competitive.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not capitalism.
It's not capitalism.
Yeah.
It's a subsidy system.
Yeah. It's not capitalism. It is. And when you don't have competition,
it's la la land.
yeah, and you're not punished for your incompetence.
Mistakes. I see time and time again, boards of directors and management teams are retained. They get the bonuses, they get promoted. Even though last year corporate profits are like shit. I see that time and time again.
Yeah, it's what we've got to there is so much that needs change. That's the problem, if you ask me. However, it's not insurmountable.
No. If America can do it, that's the Titanic. If the Titanic can change course, what about HMS Malaysia, right?
I always ask this question. Actually, when you have a recession,
that's the time to do it.
That's the time to do it. Actually, when costs are low because of a recession, because of, I would say we are an oil producing country, right? We are an oil producing
Freudian error right there.
I know. We not really our services. Okay. No, we as an oil producing country, and you know, we should make costs cheaper for our citizens. Okay.
Exactly.
Number one. Number two, we should exploit it to the max.
Exactly.
You know, we could create our own gas economy. You know, and then they are always. I mean, the sector has so much ancillary around it that actually that gets out of it, right? That it will boost other sectors. So, I think we have to. I mean the boldness in terms of. And again, it goes back to restructuring. Education needs restructuring. How we bring our people. Hey, by the way, I want to say something about this, right? When we build crutches for our people and lower the standards for our people because we want a certain segment of the people to actually supposedly have more opportunity, we actually bring the whole standard down for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, overall, I don't care which ethnicity it is. I have the last 20 years. I've seen the lowering of standards of our upcoming workers.
Malaysia suffers from a disease of mediocrity, and that mediocrity is fomented in this country.
How can you talk about doing away from exams?
Yeah. The first main exam is at SPM level. How can that be? It's ridiculous. There's no test. There's no examination of your ability until you're 15. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
9 years of school, and only then you realize where you are.
We should realize already going into Form 3, actually. That was a good system we had, right? Because people were already
Form 1
going...
entrance exams,
Yeah.
we had Standard 5
You
last
go-
time also.
You already know what is
Where you
this, the
stand.
inclination of
Yeah.
this person,
Yeah.
right? And the streaming system, no matter what you want to say about it, works actually. I don't understand why did we abolish something that worked? Just because, it hurt me. No, do
Remove
better.
the pain, yeah. No.
Do better.
Yeah.
Work harder. Right? Give them more tools. All right? Don't waste money to bail out, losing GLCs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Put money so that our children, come on, some of the schools, you look at, it's still the same since we were in school. Come on.
I go to MU because I live very near MU, right?
Right.
It's a shambles. I mean, the infrastructure is falling apart.
Yeah.
It is the premier university in Malaysia.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, lah.
Yeah. We need actually, we really need to rethink education properly. We really need to have our people to be scientifically minded. When I say scientifically minded, it means I don't know how to. Maybe I'll explain it in this way. I never really applied my engineering degree. Really, if you think about it, okay. The closest I got to was basic chemistry, okay, and project management. Okay, I never did any design or whatever and all that. But the interest in looking at things from a scientific standpoint makes you a very critical thinker, because you have to analyze a problem, break it down, and actually find solutions. This must be in everybody's head. I don't care whether they are a bureaucrat, whether they are a corporate guy, whether they are a finance guy, or anything. That has to be the kind of mental aptitude that we must have in our children.
Yeah. The thing is, we don't have that in our children, right? And it's because their environment in which they grow up is not the environment that is necessarily one which is conducive to personal growth.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of obedience, there's a lot of conformity to the structures around them, and they don't question. There's no self-analysis.
Just too much religion in school.
Yeah.
Really, I think it's just like, I mean, your parents are the one who should take care of your religious belief and education, if you ask me.
Do you feel that Malaysia is becoming more conservative? I can see that.
I think from a social standpoint, right, it is definitely more than what it used to be.
It's visible. You can
Yeah.
see it all around you.
Yeah. It is, when actually I came back from Saudi, right? We have some business there, and Saudi is becoming less conservative.
Yeah. I mean, I see what MBS is trying to do. I was in Dubai 2 weeks ago, or in fact last weekend.
Yeah,
Blew my mind, man.
yeah.
Blew my mind. I mean, the amount of the progress there is off the rocker.
No, the reason is when you have to unlock your people's mind. If you get them, the word conservative is says by itself, right? You're to conserve. You are not. You're
Push the boundary.
yeah. You are not to push the boundary and
Don't
whatnot.
question.
You. How are you going to develop?
Yeah.
How is your kid going to develop if he is taught to not ask hard questions? Okay, if from young he's memorizing, there's only 8 hours in probably what 6-8 hours school plus a bit of extra school. You need to spend time in there to prepare him for the world. You know.
I say maybe the more powerful needle mover would be the narrative to adults, parents, families. You know, the parents of the children, right? What is the government? What is the discussion now in terms of to adults and to the children, right? I think that for the upper middle class in Malaysia or the elites, the messaging is quite clear. The narrative is actually very clear. Work hard, do well, and you can preserve the wealth, right? And you can keep on enjoying the quality of life. I think that's quite well settled among the people that I talk to, and I can see visibly. It's the middle classes and lower, they don't have the luxury of that perspective and the narrative which they can then pass on. I think in your case, Sam, your family is unusual because your family surrounded you with books and the ability for you to see firsthand the power of energy and industry and the work ethic, which we don't have nowadays. Here, I can see there's a culture of entitlement. If you don't have, put your hands out and you shall receive.
Well, you see,
so that's the problem.
It goes that what the solution is, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how one looks at it, right?
Yeah.
Is political leadership.
Yeah.
It has to be. There's no other way when you talk about society, right? Political leadership need to lead the people. If you remember, in the 70s, I still remember when Mahathir came to power, okay, with Musa Hitam. All right, it's palpable, the change. All right,
that was actually Malaysia's golden era, the 70s.
It was you can see. I remember, how the name tag were put on, the clocking in and clocking out, right?
His look is policy.
The look is policy.
Yeah.
Those, even the small things of what was done was, shall we call it materialistic, right? It's about...
But he saw that as the unlock, and he was right.
He is unlocking value.
Do you know, I read his book, The Malay Dilemma, and I think a lot of what he said still holds true today. Unfortunately, I mean, that's the tragedy of the policy.
I can't recall anymore that book. I've read it. I've
Yeah.
read it before, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Okay.
But it echoes much of what we talked about in the last 2 hours.
The thing that I found, here's my disagreement with Mahathir, right? I think one of his weakness when he was looking, whilst he had the look east policy, so to speak, right? His experience with colonialism tainted his thinking.
Yeah.
Right? So everything Western was not good for him.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas, let's say from my own experience, I don't have that colonial experience. I came from the experience of I've moved to the West. I've looked at what made them what they are.
Yeah.
Okay? And I asked myself, okay, what do I take out of that? And what do I not take out from there as well? So when you have an openness of mind and critical thinking from that standpoint, not tainted by prejudice, right? You'll take the best out of what you see.
But unfortunately, human nature is like that, right? Human
Yeah,
nature
very
is the
unfortunate.
sum total of all your experiences.
Correct.
And for him, it was the whole empire building that
Yeah.
the British brought, and all the problems came along with it.
Which is probably true, because why? If I was a colonist, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Every civilization on earth, if you go back in time,
Yeah.
has been a colonist.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You think the Malays were original people here?
Well, no, of course not. There's
Right.
proof all over the place.
Right? Who were the Malay slaves? We had slaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? We are not great. So stop thinking that we are so great. All right? Start thinking that we're just humans. And everybody is just human. They have their warts and all. So learn what make them good and learn what not to do.
Can I just ask you, right, Sam? Because you've seen both Western and Asian. You live in Asia now, but you studied in America, and you call yourself a Malay redneck, which is quite funny, but it's true because you're educated in Florida, right? So enough said about. Right?
Okay.
The thing is, we are both supporters of capitalism. I think it's the best system, right? But it has its problems because it creates a huge wealth divide. It rewards those with assets and organizations of things of value, and it penalizes those that are basically paid workers, lah. And those people, that whole segment, the blue collars, will be further attacked by the robots when they come, right? If we adhere too much to the Western system of capitalism, we will further the inequality gap, and that's caused a lot of problems in the past. What do you make of that?
That's an interesting question, because it's a lot more complex than...
Absolutely, it's a lot more complex.
It's a
than
lot
that.
more complex than... that's probably another 2 hours of podcast. but
in 12 words or less,
well,
right?
I don't know about 12 words, but I'll say this. There is always inequality.
There will always be inequality.
There will always be inequality.
I agree with that.
Anybody, if you want, even,
There's always going
Marxism,
to be smarter people and less smart people,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There-
Hardworking people and less hardworking people. Yeah.
Even in a Marxist society, you end up with inequality. Even though it is supposed to aspire for equality.
Correct. The danger is the inflection point. At what point does inequality become poisonous or dangerous,
Well,
right?
Here's the thing. As long as you have a system whereby people have upward mobility, okay, with hard work and equal opportunity. This is the problem, actually.
That's the American system, right?
This is-
you can see the reward there. It's for you to get there.
It's
by
for you
yourself.
to get
yes.
there. Yeah?
That's the American dream, right? Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a generation, right? I'm 1 generation. I'm 2 generations removed. Okay, my maternal side were paddy farmers, right? I still remember going to my grandmother and her cooking with kayu api. You know, so 2 generations. Okay? In 1 generation alone, I see all my uncles, at least half of them were decently educated. Yeah. And so we did that pretty well already. Okay. But you want to have an equal opportunity situation. I've been struggling on this part actually. Okay. Because human beings are very tribal. All right. And this is something that we have to really take note. Human beings are tribal, naturally tribal.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
If it's not tribal, we won't have clan associations.
Yeah, whether it's your school or your football team or your class, it's the same, or your religion, whatever, right?
So the law in the States is the equal to have equal opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? It's not about ensuring equity. Because you can't ensure equity.
You can't do that because there will always be inequality.
There always be inequality. Okay? And
But you want to make the playing field fair.
You want to ensure that. How do you make the playing field fair? You must ensure that, 1, you have to have high standard of education for everybody. Number 1. Number 2, you have to have a health system that is fair for everybody. One of the biggest problems we also have here's another shit show, right? Okay? All right? Compare our hospital to Singapore's general hospital situation. It's night and day. Okay? And here we are crying about not having enough doctors. Why? Why are we not paying them enough? Why are they overworked? Is that has to do with our quota system? Ask ourselves these questions, right? Okay? Why does the government not have money when we are taxing our citizens a lot?
What are you spending on, right?
Yeah, what are we spending on?
Yeah.
So, if you don't have good health system that is available for, I have a better health system than the average folks. Why? Because I'm paying for it. Paying for it. Now the question is, okay, is that fair? The thing is, the government need to make it fair so that I don't have to pay for it and I can go to the government hospital.
Well, you can talk about other shit shows like housing affordability.
Exactly.
Privileges given to some but not to others, access at university places, blah, 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 blah.
So,
jobs in government, jobs in GLC, right?
So,
quotas.
Your system need to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. When your system is fair to everybody, then it will be fair to all. And then you will have everybody having the same opportunity.
And
you
then
don't worry.
Then the whole country can succeed.
Correct.
A rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Every boat goes up with it.
Yeah.
So this is so I'm not concerned about inequality. If you ask me personally, I'm more concerned about a monopolistic nature of commerce. And an unfair nature of commerce, where actually the system is stacked against normal folks to do business. That's what we should be worried about.
Yeah.
When
I was watching the Trump inauguration, right?
Right.
Bloody hell. Bernard Arnault was there, LVMH.
Yeah.
Mukesh Ambani was there.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg was there. Musk was there.
Yeah.
There was journalists there. Lex Friedman, the podcaster, was there.
Oh.
He was surrounding himself with all these people. And it was a show. It was a show to the world that these business people, it's all about the markets. It's all about the economy. It's all about wealth. It's all about universal material uprising, right? And he was so open about it. And I thought that was an amazing show of strength on Trump's part. I don't think Malaysia is cannot do that, I mean, we've got all the software here, there are business people. I mean, like yourselves, right? Like yourself, I mean, people of substance and intelligence and energy and the heart's in the right place, all are there, all are here.
Do you know most of our...
do you know me, right?
Do you know...
Malaysia is
quite a number of the CEOs and not just the CEOs, also our specialist workers in Singapore.
Yeah, I know. There's so many overseas in London and in Melbourne. They
So
just can't wait to come back.
What does that tell you?
Yeah.
It tells you that actually one of the tragedy of our country is actually we are, when I looked at when I compare between Singapore and Malaysia, our people are 10 times better.
I agree.
Okay,
I so agree.
our people
right?
are 10 times better. Because why? Because we are mavericks.
Yeah.
Okay,
We've had to fight.
yeah.
We've had to fight all the
and
nonsense.
our system is such that Singapore is cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Their system is you got to follow.
Singapore are robots, basically, right?
Yeah.
They're just machines.
So our guys have to actually stand out in order for you to be able to succeed in what you are doing, you know, and we don't have an assembly line system, you know. So actually, if you let free this creativity that we inherently have in our society, damn, I tell you,
Yeah,
we are a powerhouse.
There's so much latent energy in this country that is just untapped, untapped, right? It's incredible.
We are a powerhouse.
Yeah.
You know, it's so unfortunate. I mean, you think about it, when people compare America to China, right? I tell people very simple, okay? The GDP is about the same, okay? But you're talking about 300 million plus people against 1.4 billion people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The same when people compare us to Singapore. We are 30 plus million against 4-5 million?
Well, real Singaporeans maybe 1.5, 2,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
The rest
so
are just imported.
what have we been doing wrong? Yeah. You ask yourself a very simple question there. And it goes back to also, I said, education, right? Lee Kuan Yew could have easily changed the education system to Mandarin.
Yeah.
He did not.
He didn't.
He did not. I thought that was one of the most prescient thing that he did.
Yeah.
Right? It's
He
not
recognized.
because, the language doesn't make the society, you know. I'll tell you what makes a society. It's what is called the commonality of purpose. Okay? It's what you have as a nation. What is your common purpose as a society, as a people within that national border? Okay?
It's
What-
culture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your purpose as a people. Okay? It's not the language. It's not. In America, you got people talking Hispanic, people talking, even Italian, or you go to Chinatown, people talking Chinese.
Correct. But when they go overseas, when they ask where you from, we say we're American, right? They identify with being American.
Their commonality is always what, We're number one. You go to every university in every stadium,
Yeah, top dog.
okay? They are holding number one. They are top dog. They are thinking that they are top dog.
And the preservation of that top dog status.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why are we to envy them? Why should we be jealous of them? That's the way we should be. Right?
Don't compare to
Don't
compare to what Ecuador or whatever or Ghana or whatever. It's just no comparison.
Yeah. You don't like where PISA rank us, you get out of the ranking.
Yeah. What nonsense.
What nonsense is that? I mean, always want to be the best at what you do. Okay? I always believe this. If you're not going to be the best at what you do, don't bother. What a waste of life.
Exactly.
So, this is where, you see, a leader this is how you should lead your people. We're going to be the best. Whatever you are, we are going to be the best. And nothing, I'm going to give you the best education for you to succeed. Okay, I'm going to create an environment and a system of commerce where the best among us will bring everybody, to prosperity.
Yeah.
Was so difficult. So it's that's basically the conversation.
I used to be a columnist at The Edge, right? And there was one time I wrote one of my pieces, right? And it was rejected by the editor.
Right.
But I basically I took an analysis of the top portfolios in the cabinet of Malaysia and their educations and what they achieved in life, right? And I juxtaposed that with what Singapore had. So I had the finance minister, had the health minister, had the defense minister, prime minister, deputy prime minister. So like the top key 6 portfolios, right? And the education and the accomplishments were like north and south, And it was so politically sensitive that the editor spiked it. He says, cannot do that. Because the UMNO guys, at the time, UMNO, right, would just jump all of us and make a big deal out of this. And it was terrible because in Singapore, you had finance minister, first class honours Cambridge, right? This minister, Yale, Stanford, MBA, Harvard, Yale Law School, whatever, right? And they had started businesses, they had run companies, they were already wealthy in their own right. And they came to government to serve. In Malaysia, you had, I just don't want to go there, but it was not worth. So the thing is, we don't have that culture of, hey, let's be number one, let's be the best at what we can do, and let's bring everybody along that path with us. We don't have that. We have this culture of mediocrity. And that's how you see it just sums up Malaysia right now. And we don't have that courage to say, hey, let's get out of this middle income trap and let's get to where we can be, because we've got all this latent energy that is prized by organizations outside of Malaysia. I mean, some Malaysians are working in some of the top organizations in the world. Top doctors, top surgeons, top lawyers, top investment bankers, top private equity hedge fund managers. So many in are Malaysian. Top entrepreneurs around the world.
Right.
And we've just repelled them because they just didn't fit the mold, the formula, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, let's even go back to, a PhD is not relevant,
No, it's not. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not the slightest.
I don't understand our
preoccupation
fixation
with PhDs
in Malaysia with putting a doctorate in front of their name.
Gaya lah, bro.
Huh?
Gaya lah.
Gaya.
Or the preoccupation with titles, right? Tan Sri, Dato Sri, all that.
You look at this situation with, you really need a working... I'll just take one example, going back to, education minister. I don't want an educator.
They have no taste of the real world.
I don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
You give me a practicing engineer.
He's going to be better at his job.
You give me an entrepreneur.
A successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, a successful one. Okay. To deconstruct education. Okay?
Because they know what it takes to make it.
They know what it takes to construct it for them to make sure that actually their children that is under his watch will get a job.
Yeah.
And a job that can actually make them competitive, and then they can create a culture where their children will be better than them.
Yeah.
Here's the other problem about this so-called middle income trap. I don't believe in it. All right? Because why? What does it mean when you're mediocre? If you are mediocre, here's what mediocre people do. Mediocre people does not want to hire anybody smarter than them. Okay? Because why? They know they're not good enough.
Yeah.
To compete, because they're always worried about their position. Okay? People who are good want the best people under them.
Yeah.
Because why? Because then their life is easier.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Things can be achieved that will make them look good. Right? And this is why you have mediocrity. When you see a mediocre manager, that means the boss is mediocre. It's as easy as that, It's as easy as that. So
it's status quo.
So, but if you bring in somebody better than you, okay, one day he'll take over from you. So what? Take over lah.
Yeah.
By that time, I'm ready to retire. You know,
I-
and if you're truly good,
Yeah.
right, you already got 5-10 years head start than this guy. You're not going to be static. You're always going to get better. So who the hell cares?
You know, I like to praise by name, but criticize by category lah. So in this case, I'm going to praise by name. Don't know whether you agree with me, but you know, back in the early 2000s when Nazir took over CIMB, right? And CIMB was quite a small outfit in those days, right? Then he became the group CEO lah. But I think this Nazir is a super smart guy, right? He's far from mediocre, but he surrounded himself with really, really smart people. Not always of the right color, lah, shall we say, right? His bank was full of others, lah, shall we say, right? But bloody hell, CIMB flew, man.
Yeah.
It flew. They
Give
made
credit
so
where
much.
credit is due, right?
Absolutely. But he is someone who was not mediocre,
Yeah.
who surrounded himself with really smart people, really hardworking people,
Yeah.
right? Not of the right color. You know what I mean by that, right? The line, right?
Yeah.
But look at where CIMB became,
Well,
right?
look at Trump's cabinet nominations.
Bro, I mean, this guy, David Sachs, the AI czar, right? I mean, he's a bloody billionaire, man. He knows what's right and he knows which way is up.
I mean, you look at that cabinet, right? You
It's a
look at
who's
that
who.
cabinet,
Yeah.
it's like a dream team, as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
All right? Because when you look at their achievements and what they are, none of them are status quo.
Yeah.
The closest to status quo is Rubio.
Yeah. And even then.
Even then.
Yeah.
All right? So, this is what we severely need.
I want to talk about, Caroline Levitt. Caroline Levitt is Donald Trump's press secretary, you know.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, man. She is incredible. She's 26, she's 27 years old. Not even from one of those Harvard, Yale, Ivy League places, right? But holy moly, man, when she controlled the first press conference. I saw this on TV in Turkey. I was in Turkey last week, right? I was transfixed by her ability. She was controlling these stalwarts from the Wall Street Journal and The Economist and all these guys. She was just controlling the narrative. She was so smart. She was so incredibly intelligent, right? And that's what you say. Trump was surrounding himself with all these people of substance.
You see,
Right.
you ask yourself this question. I mean, you look at even Musk, right? I mean, a lot of this question, he's going to look at, somebody like Elon Musk doesn't need that position or
This is
that
extra
at all.
work, right? Yeah.
Yeah, come on lah. Okay? You know, even Trump himself has no business being the president. You know why? He's got enough money to.
He doesn't.
If I were him, I'd rather play golf at in Palm Beach lah.
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Actually,
So-
he could very well lose his life as president, because I mean, like 1 in 7 or 8 U.S. presidents have been assassinated in office.
Yeah.
Right. He almost died. It's just like, right. Thankless bloody job,
So,
man.
who do you put in charge? You put Rubio there. You put Elon Musk there. These are all people who are too smart for him. If you ask me,
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
you like or you don't like him.
Yeah.
Musk is a brilliant guy.
He's the most
Right.
capable entrepreneur in the
Right.
history of America.
If I were voting for a Democrat, I would have voted for Govt.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know, the Democrats want mediocrity.
Yeah.
They want somebody. The establishment wants somebody they can control.
It's so much like here, right?
Yeah.
It's so much like here.
So he end up with Trump.
He
end up with Trump.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in Malaysia, they don't like Trump, but I don't think they look beyond the surface with where Trump is
No, because
concerned.
I mean, if you read the mainstream media,
Yeah.
then you the only thing
Yeah.
you see is actually he's this and that and that.
Yeah.
You know.
But if you scratch below the surface, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot. But I like the fact that he's here now because that's a template for the rest to follow. And Malaysia can follow one.
Yeah.
Bro, Malaysia can follow. I just said, hey, let's pull our fingers out, man. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the leadership has to look at what they need to do, because we don't have oil money forever.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that whole phenomenon could go in 10 years' time if this whole EV thing and electric thing goes further.
I mean, for whatever it's, I mean, a country, you think about it, right?
There's a timeline, lah. for sure.
There's always a timeline for a window.
Yeah.
A window for you to where if you missed it after, it's a point of no return.
Yeah, windows closed.
Yeah.
And I've heard that phrase so many years. I've been a journalist for a long time, right?
Wow.
And people say, oh, Malaysia has this window of opportunity. It's been 10, 20 years since I first heard that. And you can see the window is closing, right? The window is closing. Indonesia is where it is now. Vietnam is where it is now. Thailand, Singapore, Philippines is where they are now, right? I don't know, man.
Well,
We shall see, lah.
we shall see. Yeah, I mean, I'm at the age where I guess it's that point where you say, well, I do what I have done.
We have said what we have said.
Yeah. Okay. I hope it's been a
Final words of wisdom, If your daughter was now, I know your daughter's grown up, right? But if she was 3 years old, just to say 5 years old, age of recognition, age of cognition, right? What would be the top 2 or 3 things you tell her?
This is exactly what I told my daughter when she was 3.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
You can be anybody you want.
You can do anything.
Yeah.
Don't ever allow anybody to tell you cannot do.
Yeah. You just go and get it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's powerful, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the one. Thank you.
Thank you.